Just kind of hanging out, waiting to see who all comes in and joins me here tonight. Hopefully, we get some people to come in and join. Be kind of sad if nobody does. Yeah, okay, we got one person in here watching now. Introduce yourself. There we go. Anthony Steinacker. How we doing, buddy? I'm doing good, Anthony. Much better than Mike from Drifting Dreamers 5, I'll be honest with you. Kind of feel sorry for that boy. He if you haven't paid attention to what's going on with him, he actually got taken out by a tree and it hit him right in the hip. And then he had to have his wife and kids come over with jacks and jack the tree off of him. That's a pretty sad issue. He's lucky he had people there with him. Hi, making it home. How we doing tonight? Yeah, so he's in some major pain right now, and I feel bad for him. He's lucky he had people there. I'm the kind of person that would be hard-headed and say, well, I can do this on my own. I don't need other people around, and I'd end up in that same situation, buried under a tree. And that's no place to be, and there's no way to really live life, I guess. But I'm like Mike. I'd be foolish and just say, well, I'm just going to go out here and I'm going to do this. Thank God everybody was around and helped him out. But he's going to be a hurting boy for a while on that one. Yeah, deep bone bruising is a very serious thing, to be honest with you. I shattered my heel, so I know what deep bone bruising really is, and it's terrible. The air assist made all the difference. Yeah, making it home. Speaking of air assist, it's been Mike has 9 lives, I'm sure. this is I've been real busy in my laser room, which isn't the upstairs up here where I'm at, doing some things. Now, if you guys watch the Grady's, it's all Grady. You'll see that I've got the same design they've got. They did theirs on serving trays. There we go. I'm doing it on bamboo cotton boards. I found a really good source for these. And we're actually giving them out for Christmas this year. So that's been part of my week just so far. Actually, I spent a lot of time just today alone working on the laser. One of my workers had seen a design that I shared with It's All Grady. And it's for doing coasters, like slate coasters, wood coasters. I shared it with him. I was like, there was no reason for me to keep this to myself. I'm not too sure if I paid for it or not. I probably did. But this is, I had one of my employees order 2 sets of coasters. So this is their last name on it. I think they turned out looking all right. These were all done on a CO2 laser. I'll be honest with you. If you do it in light burn and you go to add the name right here, it'll melt the slate. It doesn't print or etch onto it proper. It melts right into it. So definitely don't use light burn for that. I played around a lot with Imajar to get that to where it actually came out looking really good and everything as an image. Yeah, I like the ones with raw edges, but I've also got I think it's 10 or 12 12 by 12 slate tiles that I had picked up at an auction, and hopefully none of them are broken. I haven't looked yet, but I think it was a box of 10 that I think I paid like $5 for or something like that. I'm actually going to use those as like a trivet for setting hot pots and pans onto and things like that. And I'm not sure what I'm going to put on them yet. I've got a lot of really good sayings that I could put onto it. One of them is one that, hey, Peter, how we doing? One of them is the, I actually laugh about this one. If I have to stir it, it's homemade. I really like that saying, and I play with that a lot. There's a lot of them I play with. And speaking of things I play with, there's another new program. I've been trying to remember all day long what the name of the program was so I could share it with you guys. But I've been trying to come up with something for the HalfAss Homestead as far as like a logo type, be able to do T-shirts and such not. So what I did is I came up with this. I was using AI graphics to create that hand-drawn cabinet for me. I really loved the way that it turned out. And like I say, I wish I could remember the name of the program, because something like that, to me, it stands out. It looks good. And nobody else will have that same design. If they go in and type hand sketch cabin, they'll get a whole totally different hand sketch cabin. That's the funny part about AI, is it never does the same thing twice. It's not repetitive. So I like that part of it. Well, that's good. Making it home. Lauren, I'm glad to see you and Peter are neighbors now. I'm glad to see Peter got Jeff's old place. I mean, he got it at the right price. And as long as he can get fencing up to protect his chickens, he'll be all right. He'll be all right. He's got a good start, and it's a lot bigger than that camper. And probably a lot more modern on the inside too, I believe, because if I remember right, Jeff said that the kitchen was the best part of that place. But yeah, so that's pretty much what I've been doing is working on coming up with my logo, doing these cutting boards and whatnot. And one of the things about doing these cutting boards is going to make it kind of personalized for me is that on one side you have that design, but then when you flip it over, I actually put really, really small my little logo design on the back of each of them, so people will remember where they came from. And we did 7 of them today. Me being the dumb guy, switching from the cutting boards to the coasters. I always put a board down in the bottom of my laser and use that to get my lines. So when I put a piece in, I know exactly where it's got to go. The last cutting board I forgot to remove first, and I kind of etched half of a circle on the side of the cutting board, so I have to redo that one more time. I'll do that tomorrow. They take a little bit over half an hour each to do. The backside with the HalfAss logo part on there, that's a matter of just a couple minutes. But the front side, that's about 35 minutes for each one. And that's with a CO2 laser. I'm sure with a diode laser, you could probably do it just as well, probably just as quick, maybe not quicker, to be honest. The CO2 laser is for 60 watt, was only running at 20% power and 100 speed. And that's pretty slow. To give an example, to do these slate coasters on a 60 watt, these were done at 120 speed at 16% power. So, and I can do those on a diode laser as well. Actually, everything I do on the CO2 laser so far, I can do on a diode. There is an exception that I'm going to be working on real soon, and that's going to be doing leather hat patches. I actually want to put my logo on some leather hat patches, and we have a local campground that showed me some hats that they had that have the built-in LED light brim onto them. And I don't dare put that onto the embroidery machine because I don't know where the wires run through the top of it. And it would be really sad to put a hat into the embroidery machine and have the needle pierce the wire and make it not work. So for them, that's the reason why I decided I was going to buy some leather and start doing some practice runs with it. The problem with buying leather like that is, when I buy it anyway, is it's not just a small cut piece of leather. I bought the whole half hide of a cow, and I'm going to have to go in with probably a utility knife or scissors and cut it down to a reasonable size that fits within my CO2 laser, and then steam it. And then my employee, the one that I did the coasters for, had brought me 4 full-size lead bricks. So I can put them on each side, each corner or whatever, and try to get this thing to lay flat. And if it lays flat and you put it in the laser, life goes on. If it doesn't lay flat, you won't be able to do anything with it really, because leather, it's not real thick material. You can get real thick material, but if you get thick material, you can't cut it. And I want the laser to not only go in and engrave the design on the hat patch, but also go in and cut it out, because the campground has pretty special logo, and I want that logo to be perfectly cut out with a little bit of an offset from theirs, and I think that'll look really good. And that's one of the things that I've been really working a lot on. Okay, tumblers. Okay, too faint or dark smudging. Yeah, you can get dark smudging depending on what the tumblers are coated with. If you're buying them at, like, say, Dollar Tree, you can get tumblers down there for $5 each. What I found is the best thing to clean them with. And I was told something totally different by somebody else, and somebody that does this for a living. Actually, the person that talked me into buying my 60-watt OhmTech laser. He was buying this stuff that was called Rapid Remover. I had to look at my bottle up here because I've got Rapid Tack up here for putting vinyl lettering on vehicles. But yeah, Rapid Remover. He was using that to clean the lettering off of it after he got done in the laser. And I found there's a better alternative that's a heck of a lot cheaper. And that's just to go to Walmart, a dollar store, wherever, and get a bottle of pre-mixed Fabuloso, spray that on it, and wipe it off with a microfiber towel. Your letters come out perfectly nice and clean. There's no smudging. After it dries, it doesn't leave your fingerprints all over it or anything. And it actually makes them look really good. I actually use that same process for when I do my butter tins. I don't have one of my butter tins up here right now that I use that method on, but I can show you butter tins that I do have. Because we make, yeah, the settings have to be changed on almost every piece, really. Okay, first thing you want to check is, have you done a ramp test with the laser? Because that's very important. You need to know your exact focal point. A lot of people don't do that, and then they get frustrated and frustrated and frustrated. That's the first step. Another step is to make sure that if you're setting your laser up on a table, that table is actually sitting level, with your laser sitting level on top of the table. And they get a small laser, or a small level. It doesn't have to be a big one. Get a small level. I've got quite a few of them myself. I got one that's just about probably an inch long. It was made for doing drop ceilings. And then I've got another 6-inch one that has a magnetic strip that I picked up from the dollar store. But you want to make sure the part of that tumbler that you're going to be printing on is perfectly level with the head of that laser, so that it doesn't rise high and then drop off, because that'll change the way your letters turn out. Now this one here, this is what I do for our cutting board butter. We do cutting boards, and this is just a simple tin, and we fill it with the board butter. And whenever we sell a cutting board, we send them one of these tins so that they have a way to treat that board once it's done. That is actually done with Surmark, I believe it is, or it might be what's that other one? LBT, laser branding technologies. It's a black, like spray paint you spray on, but it washes right off with water. And once the laser hits it, it puts the print in there very, very nice and black. It does a nice job, and you can get really fine print and a lot of fine details out of it. So that's a really good one. Yeah, well, that was one of the problems I had, was the getting everything level, but also you have to do the ramp test. The X tool that I have is the only one I've never had to do a ramp test on, and I did do a ramp test to find that the kickstand that you set that laser or whatever you're working on is perfectly set. But what you do with the ramp test is you just offset it by like 1/4 of an inch on one side, and on the middle of that board, you set your laser to where they're telling you it should be set at, and then you run the full gamut of the line, like a 12-inch long line, 6 inches to each side, and you wait for that laser to get all the way down to the finest, clearest print you can actually get before it fades off, and mark that spot. And then whatever you use for measuring the height of your laser, you want to use at that height. Now, my CO2 laser came with a height adjustment piece that looked fine. I mean, I actually contacted them and said, this isn't right. And they're like, well, what do you mean? I says, well, the piece you sent me that set the laser by, it's not doing the job that it's supposed to do. And that's how I learned that you had to do the ramp test for one. But also, because it was a piece of acrylic, I was actually able to take it and put it on a piece of sanding paper and sand back and forth on it until I got it to the exact thickness that it needed to be for that laser to be 100% focused. And the focus of the laser is very important. Now, there are things that you can do with laser that you don't want it to be focused. I actually had somebody tell me that for doing something they were doing, I don't remember what it was. They were actually taking their laser 1 millimeter out of focus to get a better engraving. I think it was laser 911. They were taking the laser out of focus by 1 millimeter to get a better engraving. But I really don't want to play with that 1 millimeter is so infinite. And I mean, I can do that just by turning the knob on the table of mine and raising it up a tiny bit, but I don't, or lowering it a bit. But I don't see that being a necessary thing. If you get your laser focused properly and you have your piece in there perfectly level, then it doesn't matter how much you offset the laser. If your line intervals are close enough and your dithering is done proper and stuff, it should turn out fine. Well, that's a good way to start tonight. I wasn't planning on talking about lasers, but here we are. You never know where we're going to go. Hi, Marianne. How we doing? You never know where we're going to go with these chats. I mean, one of the things I just learned here the last couple of weeks is that I actually had to start raising some of my prices. I was doing signs. I showed you the signs for the concealed carry. The cost of those signs have gone up so much. I was selling them for $10 a piece printed, and now it costs me $12 a piece unprinted to buy them. So I had to raise the price of the signs. I didn't want to, but it's not optional. We have a supply and demand issue on stuff like that, and we have inflation in our back burner here, and that causes the need to have to raise prices every now and again. And same thing with T-shirts. I was selling T-shirts for $10 each, and I can't do that anymore. The cost of the T-shirts is higher than what they were when I started doing that. So they're now $12 each for the. This is funny. It's kid size, small, medium, large, and extra large. Adult sizes, small, medium, large, and extra large, are all one price. And then when you go to the 2XL, it goes up $1. You go 3XL, it goes up $1. You go to 4XL, it goes up another $1. So a 4XL shirt can now be $16. But the fact that a kid's shirt and an adult shirt are the exact same price is really outrageous because they're using a lot less material. I know it takes as much labor. You still got to sew it together and all that stuff, but you're using a lot less material. And it would seem to me that you could make a lot more shirts out of, say, a whatever you want to call it, a roll of material. You can make a lot more kids shirts out of that roll than you can an adult shirt. But the prices are exactly the same all the way up from small kids to extra large adults. The prices are exactly the same. And that kind of blew me away. And I learned that because I was asked by somebody just recently if I could do the Drifters Down t-shirt for Serenity. And I was like, yeah, I can, but I don't know the cost of the shirts. I don't know the availability. Hey, Brian, how we doing? So I went and I priced it out. I actually bought some child shirts and some more adult shirts so I can build up my inventory of them because the gray shirts seem to be really, really popular, which is kind of weird because like the shirt I've got on right now, this is a band shirt that I put the wrong side, Dave. This is a band shirt I've been doing. And for all of the members of the band and everybody, I've been putting it on the silver shirts. They're really actually gray, but they call them a silver shirt. And when we went there and started selling merchandise for the band, I didn't want to be in a band shirt, not their band shirt. I wanted to be in my own band shirt. I wanted to stand out away from the band because I was the one there selling merchandise. And yeah, I haven't shown you guys this yet either, but I also do mirrors. I've got one up here. Let me look at it real quick. I'm not real sure. Yeah, I'm gonna have to dust this off real quick. Give me just a second here. This is what happens when you have things just sitting around in a construction zone. They get really, really dirty really quick. That won't take much. I got a half a gallon of Windex sitting beside me so I can get it clean. Oh boy. Yeah. It was dirty. Oh, make no doubt about that. Wow. It's not going to be perfectly clean, but clean enough so you can see it anyway. Put this back so I dump it all over my floor. Yeah, so the same design that's on my shirt, I was able to put on mirrors. It can be kind of hard to see because of the way the light reflects off of it and stuff. And this one doesn't have any paint behind it yet. This one's just the design itself. If I were to put like a colored paint behind that, then you'd be able to see a lot better on the front of the mirror. I'm not too sure why I gave up on doing anything with this one, or how it even ended up here in my upstairs, but I decided I needed to learn how to do the mirrors. Now those you have to have a CO2 laser for. You can't do that on a diode laser. And to be honest with you, you're taking the back of the mirror off, and the back of the mirror smokes a lot when you're doing it, even with air assist. I can do maybe 5 mirrors, and then I have to take the laser lens out, clean it, put it back in, and do it, start all over again. Yeah, making a home, Lauren, I'll be honest with you. Back in the day, not when we've been here at this house, but at our old place where I had my wood shop set up and all that stuff, we actually got into doing etching of mirrors on the face of the mirror. Mostly on the face, I should say. Not always on the face, mostly on the face. No, type of paint doesn't matter. If you're doing it on the back of the mirror, what I normally do is I pick the color that I want to use, like for the fire departments and stuff. I use what's called rose gold. It's kind of a pinkish colored gold, metallic type paint. I do the mirror with that. I give it a good coat, and then I go right over that again with flat black, so the whole back of the mirror looks like the rest of the mirror should. But what we used to do is we'd take the vinyl plotter, create the design for a 12 by 12 mirror on the vinyl plotter, weed that design out, and then transfer it onto the mirror. And then we had 2 choices. We either did what was called the liquid etch, and liquid etch worked really, really well for a lot of things. And I also did glass bead etching with a soda blaster or with a sand blaster. And another thing that we were doing, which was really cool, and a lot of people don't do, is we actually learned how to use a baking soda blaster to take the main part of the back of the mirror off, and then use a special chemical to remove the silver and gold liners, because they're like really super thin coats. So it was like it's a type of acid. I don't remember what the type of acid was we were using. But once you do that, then you can put a picture behind that section of the mirror. So you could have like the name. We did one with a motorcycle club. They were called the Arachno Squad. So we had the Arachno Squad across the top of the mirror, established date onto it, and then took a big section out of the bottom of the mirror and put a real big picture in there of all the members of that motorcycle club and that onto the back of that mirror, and then put a piece of wood behind it, build a wood frame to go around it, and send it to them. And they fell in love with it. And then one of their members died, and they asked if I could do it again. And I was like, yeah, I can, but I don't want to. There's things like that. Sometimes you can, sometimes you always can. Question is, do you want to? We had one we did for a Florida VFW post. That was the most intricate design we ever had to do. And we tried it, got it wrong, tried it, got it wrong. And I finally said, you know what, I'm just gonna print this picture on the wall. Everything that we're supposed to take off, I'm gonna have printed black. Everything we leave behind is gonna be white. Look at the picture, look at the vinyl, and weed out the parts that are only the parts that are black. We did that with a football helmet too. That was quite ironic. We kept taking out the wrong pieces. But that one for the VFW, that was so intricate because of the star and all the lines that come out around it and all that stuff, and everything else that went into that mirror. But when we got done with that, we shipped it to Florida to the VFW post, and that was the only mirror I ever shipped that was in a box where it had a piece of Luan on the bottom of the box. I think it was a 1/4 inch piece of styrofoam, then the mirror with the wood frame, and then it had the another piece of 1/4 inch styrofoam, and then another piece of 1/4 inch Luan, so that if anything hit that box, it would not touch that mirror because it took us so long to get it perfect and be able to ship it out to the customer. And you know, if you make mistakes doing that stuff, vinyl's cheap. You can throw the vinyl away, do it again, it's all done. Hi, Tashalyn. I'm doing well. The vinyl for doing the actual masking of the mirror, that stuff was cheap. But if you do the mirror and screw up the mirror too, well, now you wasted your vinyl, you wasted a mirror, and you wasted the liquid etch. So I was always real particular about the vinyl has to be perfect first before it even goes near a mirror. And then we always pre-clean with the mirrors for that because liquid etch will not work if you touch the mirror. The oil in your skin, it's a lot like sublimation printing. If you touch an area of the substrate where you're trying to print, it won't stick to it. I am a veteran, Lauren, so yes, I do support everybody that has anything to do with that. I'm not too sure why they're doing a poppy drive. I thought they were illegal to grow, but okay. No, I'm joking. Poppy oil. That's what they were growing in Afghanistan, and they had to go in and burn all the fields down because it was an illegal crop. But anyway, so we would go and we would totally clean the face of the mirror up. Anytime we were getting ready to do this, we'd all the time, 90% rubbing alcohol with a lint-free cloth like a mirror micro cloth, and we go in and we totally clean the top of that mirror and never touch the top again, and then put the vinyl down onto it. And then once the liquid etch was onto it, you wait 15 minutes or whatever. We take it from that part of my shop up into the house, get the sink running with warm water, wash the liquid etch off, don't take any of the vinyl off, and then just set it into the disc drainer and let it dry. And then you take it and you hang it up to a light, like we put it in the window so you could look through it to make sure that every part that you etched actually came out looking really good. And if it didn't, we'd go back in, we'd do the 90% rubbing alcohol cleaning again, and then go back in with the liquid etch and do it one more time. I think I only had one where the liquid etch for some reason just would not do anything to the front of the glass to my acceptance. And I actually went in with the sandblaster and did that with the glass beads. And it turned out all right, but it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. That's all right. You can call everybody whatever. Some mirrors are duds. I've had them break when I was putting them in the frame. So, yeah, we've had a lot of duds. Actually, cutting boards, I was just saying a little bit ago. I had to do 7 of them today, and the 7th one, I forgot to take out a laser before I started tracing circles of where I needed to put these coasters, and I cut right into that cutting board with a half circle, and I'm going, okay, well, tomorrow's another day, do it again. The very first one I did was a joke. I did not know what I was doing, first of all, because we've done a lot of etching in like hardwood, but these cutting boards are made out of bamboo. They're not hard, which is really good on the knives, by the way. the real hardwood, I mean, you got to have pretty high power, pretty slow speed to really be able to do a good etch. Well, I was going by those settings that I had wrote down in my book, and with a cutting board, and I thought, man, this thing is taking forever. It was smoking like crazy to the point where you couldn't even see through the inside of the laser to see if it was still running or not. And I was just like, wow. When I pulled that out, I burnt through probably three-quarters of the thickness of the cutting board, and they aren't that thick to begin with. They're a little bit more than like maybe 3/8 of an inch, a little bit less than 3/8 of an inch, but a little bit more than a quarter inch. You know, it's going to be in the millimeters, like 10 millimeter or whatever, or no, not that much. But anyway, so it was like when I pulled that board out, I looked at that and said, "Holy crap! Are those the wrong settings? No wonder it took so long, and no wonder it smoked so much." And I actually, all the time that it was doing it, I'm thinking to myself, well, what can I do now to get rid of more smoke? Because I need to vent the smoke outside. That CO2 laser, when it starts smoking, it really starts smoking. So I was like, all right, after this is done, after the lasers had a chance to be sitting idle with the fans running and clear all the smoke out of there, I'm going to open the hood, clear all the smoke out of the room because it was leaking out under the hood. There was just so much smoke. And after all the smoke cleared and stuff, I looked at that and I was like, there's a better way. It uses a 6-inch vent pipe to vent out the window. Well, I just happen to have a 6-inch inline fan, the exhaust fan that was available. So I put that on the laser, plugged that into a different cord, put the flexible pipe back onto it, and then taped all my seams. And it still smokes a little bit into the room, but it's not bad. Hey, how we doing, Vaughn? I have tried laser and ceramic tile. I am not real crazy about how they turn out. Yeah, I actually have some good designs for chickens too. One of them was just shared with me not too long ago. Mess around and cluck out and find the cluck out. I want to play with that one. Well, that's cool. No, I haven't seen your Facebook today. I actually haven't even seen my Facebook today. I've been down working on the laser all day long. I You'll truck it to me. Hey, I'm planning on visiting with Brian here sometime soon, and you're halfway point from, well, not a halfway point, probably a two-third point from me to Brian. So if I'm looking for something, I'll let you know, but I'll pick it up on my way by. Stop in and visit with you. But yeah, I mean, there's just the laser tiles do look cool. Like I say, I've got some slate tiles I'm gonna be working with for doing like trivets and stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure that I'm not positive on what designs I'm gonna do, but I do like that one. If I have to stir it, it's homemade. That's a pretty cool saying. I like the other one. You know, go ahead and cluck around and find out. That's kind of funny. Okay, Canandaigua was not that far away. Lions, I'm not too sure about, but Canandaigua was not that too far away. Yeah, I like that one as a sign, but I also found a lot of other ones that I like too. Um, Actually, I got a sign I'll show you I got from Team here. This is one that I could actually make on my using my press, but this one here, Farm Fresh butt nuggets. I'm actually thinking about going in and seeing if I can get the chicken and the eggs off of this sign to be able to come up with another design of my own that I've been wanting to work with for a while. I like the idea of the butt nuggets. That's Brett's thought. Brett with Buck Nugget Homestead. There's a lot of different designs I'd like to play with. There's a lot of different things I like to do. Um, Another one that I found for like the plaques, I think I might have said this on the last one, but the plaques that we were doing for Mike and Terry, and also for Sandra Mandrano, the Oklahoma Granny, for the last YouTube meetup, I was actually able to locally source the same exact size and style and everything plaque that I can sublimate print on, and they're about a twelfth of the cost. Actually, making it home, I thought about going in and I have a seal. I have a CNC machine. It's not a big one, but I have a CNC machine that I built, and I've actually thought about making a sign for my chicken coop that way. Because if you go in and well, you can do it with laser too, but I'm just not real crazy about doing it with laser, I don't think. But you can mask off the front of a piece of wood and then go in and do your laser, and you can deep set it or however you want to do it with laser. But don't peel off the masking tape until afterwards. Once you get done with that, the laser will burn through that masking tape and into the wood. And now you can go in with paint, and you can go in and paint all the lettering on the inside of it. And then after the paint gets a chance to dry, then peel it all off. Don't wait till it's totally dry, because it won't come off. But when it starts to dry, you can peel all that masking tape off, and you get this really nice clean print on the inside of all the letters, and you don't have to sit there with a little brush trying to do it. Well, hi, Brett. Yeah, farm fresh butt nuggets. I like that sign a lot. When I seen that on Temu, I think it was like $4 or something like that, and I was just like, I gotta have that one. And seeing as how Brett's Old Man King Homestead, that's the sign I told you I got. I don't think I got a chance to show that to him. I actually have one that I did um, with a wood burner, believe it or not. A wood burner, of all things. I did it with a wood burner. It's like a little wooden plaque that I bought at some dollar store somewhere. It might have been Walmart or whatever, but it's a little plaque. And I drew a picture of a bucking horse, and um, above the horse it says "Be nice," and then underneath it says "Or get kicked out." And that sits in one of my windows facing outside that everybody sees. I see it when I come into the house, and I chuckle about it every time because I forget that I actually had it sitting there. Yeah, my trials on regular like ceramic tiles have not been good. I was told to do it with the LBT, and I can get a good design with the LBT. I got one right here behind me. I can get a good design with the LBT on there. So laser branding technology. But the problem is, if you don't clear coat it with something after you do that, it'll wash right off. I mean, I played with them and played with them and played with them. Everybody said, "Oh, just keep doing it this way, keep doing it this way." I was like, "Yeah, but it's not working the way I want it to. I don't want it to be able to wash off. I want it to be totally embedded." And that's what got me into playing around with the Cermark. Because Cermark said, "Yeah, ours don't wash off with water like that." Well, it may not wash off with water like that, but it does scratch off, and you kind of have to be not gentle cleaning the tile after you get done doing your laser run. So I haven't been real successful working with the tiles yet. Yeah, I'm making a home. If you would share with me what you're using for a laser, and what chemicals, if any, or whatever, because that makes a big difference too. Like I say, Fabuloso does wonderful on things like those tins. It works really good. Like we do these tins here are done with a Cermark. The other tins that we do come black, and we take the black off and bring it down to the silver. We have to use the Fabuloso on those to get the silver to be shiny through the black. And then what else do I use that on? I think that's about it for that. But tumblers, and the tins, the Fabuloso works awesome on it. You just have to have a microfiber towel, and I've got a lot of those. I mean, I've got probably 25 microfiber towels at all times available to me, and I just use them until they get really dirty, and just throw them in the wash with the clothes, and after they're done, fold them up and add them back to the pile again. And the reason why I got so many is because I bought them in bulk. I went on to Amazon and said, "Look, I need to have microfiber towels," and I think it was like 25 microfiber towels for $20 or something like that. It was really cheap. So I bought the whole package. I was like, "Yeah, okay." I mean, I could have bought one or two, but why? That was one of the things about playing with Walmart for things like microfiber towels. If you go back into the automotive department, you'll pay a lot of money for a microfiber towel. If you go into the arts and crafts department, you'll pay a lot less for it, but you're still going to pay at least $1.50, $2 per towel. I was able to get 25 for under 20 or around 20. So that was mine. Let's see what else we got going on. Uh, I'm not sure if I said anything about this last time or not, but there's a group out there called Patriot Owned Businesses, and Patriot Owned Businesses is for all businesses. You don't have to be a veteran or anything like that. You just have to say, hey, I believe in our Constitution and our rights, and I will do whatever is needed to stand up for them. Well, what Patriot Owned Businesses did is created a website where we all are like all in together, and Bowen, I hope they're not more than 10 rounds, brother. So Patriot Owned Businesses, what they did is they created a website, and in that website is a directory of all members. It's free to join. So if you believe in our Constitution and all that stuff, you can go in there and you can join them. But I took it a step further, and I became what's known as a blue level sponsor. I got one of their stickers for it here. As a blue level sponsor, they have a trawler that has a lot of different business names on it and stuff. Hey Nana, they have a trawler that has a lot of different business logos and stuff on it, and they drive all over the country with this trailer. And what they just did is they went out and they bought a brand new truck, and they're going to have that truck wrapped, and the cost of the wrap is expensive. I mean, thousands of dollars to have a vehicle wrapped nowadays, especially with a lot of different things put onto it. But they approached me and they said, "Hey, how would you like to have your name on our truck?" And I was like, "I'd love to have my name on the truck." And they were like, "Okay, well, this is how much it is to put it onto the tailgate. I think it was $175 to get the business name put on the tailgate." And I'm like, to me, that would make no sense. If you're driving the truck, you're pulling the trailer, nobody's going to see the tailgate. You know what I'm saying? I was like, well, how about if I wanted it on the truck? And they said, "Oh, yeah, we can do it on the truck." And I was like, do I have to pick a side? Because I know on race cars, I always pick the passenger side of the race car because that's the side that shows to the crowd on every lap they're going around. The only time you see the driver's side is when they're in the winner's circle. Not all of them get there. And they said, "No, we can put it on both sides of the truck." I says, "Great. How much is it?" And they were like, $500. All right, here's my logo. Here's $500. Put me on your truck. And they came back and said, "Well, what placement on the truck do you want?" And I was like, "Wherever you want to put me. Just don't make it so small that people can't see it," basically. And because I was the first one to go in on helping them buy the wrap for the truck, from what I understand, I'm going to be on the back doors of the truck, right center of the doors, and my logo will be one of the biggest logos on the truck when they get ready to have it done. So because I was the first guy that made me the blue level sponsor. The rest of them I think are red level sponsors below that, and they get to have their name on both sides of the truck, same price, but because they're getting in at a later date, their logo won't be as big or whatever. I don't know how they're working that, but yeah, I don't have an issue with that. It's like I told them, hey, I've sponsored a lot of race cars, and I don't have a problem with it. And actually, a lot of the race cars that I've sponsored, I actually printed my own logo out and went over to the race car where they were getting it done and painting it and everything, and said, all right, where do you want my logo on your car? And they'd point to the spot. And how long is your paint cured? And they'd be like, well, it's been on there for a month now. It should be good. Okay, great. And I'd go in and I'd letter my logo onto the race cars and stuff so that it was perfectly straight and we're looked at the best position I could ever put it in. And it was always done in our green and brown for the dollar seed because that's our logo. I didn't never add like the other words underneath it because on a racetrack doing 60, 70 miles an hour, especially on a dirt track, you're not going to be able to read that low print anyway. And even in the winter circle, when they go to take the pictures, depending on where you put it on the race car, the driver might be standing in front of the logo so it won't be seen, or he'll be standing in front of the driver's side door, which is normal. So I shot for just behind the driver's side door. So the driver wouldn't be covering our logo up, but it could be seen. And again, people are taking pictures, they're standing back 20 feet to get a good picture of you standing next to your car so they can get the whole car into the picture or whatever. And I didn't want them standing in front of that logo and covering it up. So I really played around with a lot of things like that. I've done it a lot, actually, too many times to count. One of them that I sponsored was for tires, and I will never do that again. I did not realize that race car tires are so expensive. They don't just go to the junkyard, grab a couple tires, throw them on the car, and go out onto the track. No, they have to have brand new, and they have to be wide tires, and they have to be this, they have to be that. They have to be able to run at low pressure, which is really kind of weird. You know, if your low tire light comes on your car, you put air in the tire. If they had a low tire light on their car, it would always be on for every tire because they want their tires low so they get better traction. I guess I can understand that too, but I don't drive a race car. I actually try not to speed too much. I'm not like Tim. Tim likes to go fast. I just like to get from point A to point B. That's more important to me than trying to beat the clock. I have had times where I've had to race the clock a little bit, but I'm not the kind of guy that likes to do it that way. Bowen, I'll be honest with you. They have had a lot of instances recently where a 30 round magazine is very, very close to being enough. There was just one recent one not too long ago where there was a guy who they were trying to carjack him, and they had three guys chasing him down the street with 9mm pistols. Well, them things hold what, 11 rounds each? They're allowed to have 33 rounds. Three guys chasing me down. I'm only allowed to have 10 to shoot back. That's bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I don't agree with I don't agree with any of their regulations or any of the stuff that they're trying to push. Not only that, but they even admitted the other day, the FBI did, or no, the director of ATF. I'm sorry, Buttigieg. He admitted the other day that their laws are unjustifiable and unconstitutional, but yet he still keeps him and Biden still keep trying to push it. So I'm not a happy camper with this administration. I've been pretty much one way all way for the last couple terms. You know, I've actually bought purchased signs or flags rather, and just handed them out to people, not even in my own neighborhood. If I see something they've got on their building, no, actually, Lauren, I haven't done that yet, but I did watch your video on it, and I am very, very impressed by how that turned out. Unfortunately, I don't have any of my own that I want to practice on because I don't want to have to tear them down in order to make them fit the laser. I could do it. I could do it with a CO2 laser because that's a pass-through laser. But again, I'm not too sure I want to use my own as a practice tool. I think I would be better off just buying like a block of aluminum and bluing it and then putting that in the laser and see what settings I need to play with or whatever to try to get the best designs and whatnot out of it. As far as doing it on the stock, I don't have any guns that have a wooden stock on them. Mine are all composite or plastic, I guess you could say. My 22's got a plastic one on it. My 20 gauge is a composite, and then my 223, I think that's composite as well. I believe that it is. I believe that it is. That's a black and silver gun. So yeah, it probably is. Well, guys, we're heading for an hour. Anybody have any questions or anything? I really don't want to drag this one out like we did last time for 5 hours, but if anybody wants to know anything, ask any questions or whatever, I'm willing to help answer them, I guess. And we got Making It Home here too, who also has laser work going on. Yeah, and I guess I didn't tell you guys this too. I did that rant about my truck. We did locate my truck. Let me see if I can pull a picture up of it here. We did locate my old truck, and it was kind of heartbreaking. When we found my old truck, this is what we found. We got the plates off of it. They'll never drive it illegally again. But yeah, that was pretty heartbreaking. I had a lot of pride in that truck, and the guy that was driving it was on parole. Yeah, it was totaled, Natasha. There's nothing left of it. Period. There's not even a front bumper savable on it now. Um, but the driver of the truck at the time was driving on a permit with no passenger, meaning he's driving out of class, illegal. He claimed that the back brakes on the truck had gone out 2 months before he got into the accident. I say that's false, and if that is the case, then he shouldn't be driving the truck. But the best part about it is that the best part about it is that he's on parole. He is being a child molester, sexual rape 3rd degree. And I talked to his parole officer the other day. Actually, the day after we came back home with the plates, I called his parole officer up. It was a run around to figure out what was going on. When we got down into Binghamton City, we went to the address where he was supposed to be living, and it was an old abandoned house, so we knew that wasn't the right address. So then we went right to the Binghamton Police Department, and we talked to a sergeant down there, and he was listening to our side of the story, and he's like, "Hold on, I got to go talk to somebody. I'll be right back." So he went in and he talked to his supervisor, and he came back and he says, "Yeah, I'm sorry, guys, but there's nothing I can do for you." I said, "Well, don't be so quick. This guy had an accident with this truck. Can I get a copy of the accident report?" And he says, yeah, you just got to go over to their records. You know where it is, right? And I was like, "No, I'm not from this town." So he took us over to records, and we went in there, and we got a copy of the accident report. And while we were in there, I said to the lady behind the counter, I said, "Well, can I get the addresses of where the 2 handicap parking tickets were at?" And she's like, "I can't give you that. That's done through traffic. It's the next door down on the same side of the hallway." And I said, "All right, great." So I went down there, door's locked. I knocked on it. This young guy answers the door. And I told him, I'm looking for an address of where these 2 tickets happened from. And I'm pretty sure it's like a doctor's office or something because they were exactly 90 days apart. and you should have another one coming up. So I'd like to be able to get that location. So if nothing else, I can sit in that area and I can watch for the truck to show up. And the guy's like, I really can't give that information out. And I said, well, why not? The tickets are in my name. And he went and he called a sergeant in, and sergeant commanded the traffic bureau department. And Sergeant turned around and says, who's David? And I said, I am. And he says, all right. He says, you want the address for this? And I says, yes, I do. And he says, you see that road out there on the other side of the parking lot over here? And I was like, yeah. He says, that's where it was parked. I said, both times. And he says, yeah, both times. And I was like, okay. So that means it's probably like a probation appointment. Where's your probation department at? Okay, well, it's across the road in the building with the big columns. So we went over to the building with the big columns, went in the probation department, gave him the guy's name, told him the situation, what was going on. And he was talking on the phone to somebody for a little bit, and he gets off the phone. He says, okay, he says, this guy is definitely on parole. And the parole building is the tall building, the New York building over here across the street. It's the tallest building in the area. And I was like, do you have a phone number for him? Because we got to get back out of town. I gotta get Jimmy back here because his wife and my other worker were all done for the day, and they all ride together to go home. And he's like, yeah. So he wrote down the phone number for the parole office. And so I had Jimmy call his wife and say, look, we'll meet you guys in Cortland, because that's like a pretty close distance apart from where we were at, coming back in town. And I called him up the next day, and I talked to an Officer Gray, and I explained to him the situation and what exactly had transpired on this thing. I told him, I can send you a copy of the traffic report if you want. And he's like, no, you don't need to do that. He says, dude, I'm across the street from these people. I can go over and get all this stuff myself for free. He says, you had to pay 75 cents just for an accident report, 3 pages. I don't have to pay that. That's why you have to pay for it, because you have to help pay for my paper. I was like, all right. I said, but what about these parking tickets? Because apparently they're happening while he's at your office. And he's like, well, what was the vehicle? And I says, well, it was a 2011 fire engine red Nissan Titan. And he's, oh, yeah, man, yeah, that was a nice truck. I remember seeing that. And I was like, yeah, it was a nice truck, but it ain't no more. It's totaled. I says, the problem is it's still under my registration, still under my insurance. So now it's under my responsibility to pay these tickets. It's also under my responsibility to pay for this accident, which I don't believe is supposed to be my fault or my having to deal with. And he's like, all right, I'm going to talk to my supervisor, and I'll give you a call back in the next few days, he says, and I'll let you know what we come up with. He says, I think we're going to be able to help you out on this one. He says, it's definitely a violation because he's not supposed to be in any contact with police officers, and apparently he's had a contact with police officers. He says, you know, if he got a ticket. And I said, well, I can't imagine him walking away without one, you know. He sent 2 people to the hospital, so I can't imagine him walking away without one. But, yeah, I haven't heard back from him. This was like on Thursday. Well, then we had Friday, and then Saturday. Of course, he's not working that day, so I'm expecting maybe Monday or Tuesday I'll hear something back from them. And I'm looking forward to hearing back from Officer Gray to see what they decide to do against this guy. He's a real freak, and hopefully they can look at the records of the guy who was at the accident scene after the accident happened, stating he owned the truck. Look him up in the records and find out that he's a convicted felon too or something, and ditch both of them into prison for a while. That would be a benefit to me. It would make it worthwhile for me to deal with all this crap. Yeah, Lauren, that's the problem. That's the problem. A lot of these DAs and stuff are George Soros bought out people. They don't care. They don't care. Doesn't matter what crime they commit. It doesn't matter how many people got hurt or whatever, financially or physically. They keep turning them back out and just saying, yeah, okay, well, slap on the hand, goodbye. You know, some of them get on parole like this guy, but he still gets to walk the streets every day. You know, he's supposed to toe the line, but he still gets to walk the streets every day. If I could just go out and walk the streets every day and not have to work to pay bills for stupid things that people do against me, I'd be happy too, you know. I mean, so what? He visits a parole office or every 90 days, probably pees in a cup, answers some questions, and goes back home. Meanwhile, I get stuck with a $205 parking ticket every time he goes. So yeah, I mean, it's terrible. Yeah, Tasha Lynn, that's exactly the way it is too. Especially here in New York. I had a brother-in-law. He passed away, but I had a brother-in-law that spent 8.5 years in prison for 3 DUIs. They weren't even DWIs; they were DUIs, just driving under the influence. He didn't drink enough to be able to go to a .08 on the breathalyzer, but he went enough to go like a .05 or whatever, which would probably be like 2 beers for him. And he ended up 8.5 years in state prison because of that. And I was like, don't mess with these guys. Holy crap. You know, that the 3 strikes you're outlaw should be everywhere, but it's not. New York State's very adamant on it. Um, there's a lot of states out there. New Mexico is one of them where I just watched a video yesterday. I think I shared it on Facebook. Where this guy had 17 DWIs and he just got arrested again for another one. And he's going to get let back out again. You know, no prison time, none of that stuff. He didn't kill anybody, so they're not too worried about him or whatever. But even still, you know, I mean, it's just a matter of time. And the way he was driving really bothered me because he was actually running people off the road that were coming in the opposite direction. And to me, that should be just enough to say, okay, you're done driving, you know. And apparently, this guy still had a license. I'm not sure how he managed to do that, but apparently he still had a license because they didn't get him for driving without a license. They got him for his 18th DWI. And I don't understand how that happens. All right, guys, it's been an hour. I'm going to call this one tonight. I've been working all day on laser and doing different things. I'm pretty tired and going to get some sleep tonight, I hope. So we'll catch you guys all on next Saturday, same time, 8 o'clock. Catch you in the next one. Don't forget to thumb like on the way out.